What do you believe right now that's making you feel this way? And when you analyse it, you realise how irrational you can be at times.
Every single one of our major customers and minor customers all shut their doors overnight.
It's not sales per se, but the outcome of it is, because people get to know you, they get to see you.
Making those efficiencies to maximise service profits as well as just product profits.
When you lose the enthusiasm, that's the point to move on.
Scaling up a business isn't easy. If it were, we wouldn't have less than 4% of businesses scaling beyond 10 employees or around £1 million turnover level, and less than 1% beyond 50 employees. But the contribution that we make as owner-managers to our economies is immense and should never be underestimated, yet it can be a tough gig for all of us at times. And only other business owners truly understand the challenges that we face. And through ScaleUp Radio, we aim to help make things a little easier. We interview guests who have been where you are now and may have faced some of the challenges that you are facing. And they offer their thoughts and advice on what has worked for them, as well as what didn't. And we've also combined many of the lessons from these interviews, and also through working with hundreds of owner managers over the last 10 years or so, into a practical scale-up handbook that we've called the Entrepreneurial Scale-Up System, or ESUS. And it's for owner managers like you and me as we navigate our own scale-up journey. And you can order a copy through your favourite online book retailer, or by going to all the W's, esusgroup.co.uk, www.esusgroup.co.uk. Today I talk with Jonny Caplan, who is the CEO of Tech Talk Media and Impossible Media, and he's also Creative Entrepreneur of the Year in 2022 for the Great British Entrepreneur Awards. And he's clearly a serial entrepreneur. Right from the age of 14, he won the Duke of Edinburgh Award for entrepreneurship at school, and then he set up multiple businesses. And by the time he was 21, he was raising £5 million for a business that they had, sold out to 123 Reg, and since then has gone on to greater and greater success. But it hasn't all been a bed of roses. There's definitely been some ups and downs, and we talk about a couple of those down moments and the importance of resilience in this episode. So this is a really interesting episode. Jonny understood right from an early age the power of media and TV in particular in inspiring people, reaching an audience. And there's a lot of lessons in this episode to pick up from Jonny, and it's definitely well worth a listen. Welcome to another episode of ScaleUp Radio. I'm delighted to have as my guest today Jonny Caplan, who is the CEO of Tech Talk Media and Impossible Media, and recent winner of Creative Entrepreneur of the Year at the Great British Entrepreneur Award. So, Jonny, welcome to ScaleUp Radio.
Hi, Kevin. So great to be here with you. Thank you so much for hosting me.
So, Tech Talk Media and Impossible Media, what's it all about? What do you do?
Let me jump on the name of the second one, just because we've got a great tagline for Impossible Media. It says making the impossible possible. So definitely been a mantra of mine since I've been a young kid. Just to put it into context, at 14, I won an award from the Duke of Edinburgh for entrepreneurship at high school. That kind of spurred me on to be very entrepreneurial, as you can imagine. Started my first business at 16. By 21, sort of raised £5 million in the UK, which was, quite a feat for that age young kid.
Absolutely.
And it wasn't all rosy, right? As business is. And, often in the UK, you're judged where you make a failure. They call you, you're a failure. But when you go to the US and they say you failed a couple of times, they say, well, wonderful, you must be on your road to success then, because they realize that is the path. So it's been ups and downs, but obviously had some amazing successes there. And I featured on Dragon's Den, sort of midway into my career. Had a great company. Unfortunately, the company before that had a very difficult partnership with a guy illegally doing some stuff in the company, right? It was very hard for me to explain that on camera. And when I was on Dragon's Den, they wanted to talk about that because, they had the great bit with me, but they wanted to focus on the negative. And I very quickly realized that television and business are not synonymous with each other, and they're not friends at the moment, right? And or at the time, and most of those shows, The Apprentice, Shark Tank, Dragon's Den, all that kind of stuff, are very enlightening on entrepreneurialism, but they pretty much scare entrepreneurs because you see these dragons, they're harsh, people are under pressure. That's not really a very clear indication of business. That hardly ever happens, right? You go through funding a couple of times in your career, you might go through those instances, but they're not really showing a true reflection of what's going on there. And that whole episode, what happened to me, and through seeing it through my own endeavors and helping people through being an angel and a mentor, I realized that there really wasn't anything on television which mimicked what was going on in the business world. And that made no sense to me.
Okay.
So in 2017, along with my American cousin, we formed a US media and entertainment company called Tech Talk Media. And Tech Talk Media was really there to elevate the under-discovered, the under-the-radar startups and entrepreneurs, new innovation, amazing people, massive lifestyle shifts that we potentially don't understand, like AI, cannabis, sustainability, all these kind of things that are happening around us. Mm-hmm. So we made our first show, Tech Talk, hence the name of the company, Tech Talk Media. Yeah. And Tech Talk was a show that was meant to go city to city and really highlight the amazing, amazing entrepreneurs. We started off in the first city and the show blew up on Amazon. We won 11 International Film Festival awards for it. PricewaterhouseCoopers actually picked up the show and asked us to join their Tech She Can charter. They realized it was so inspiring to young kids to get into technology positions. They wanted to use it as part of their Tech She Can, which is, with the inspiring women to get into technology jobs at a young age. And the show went on to the British educational system for like 8 to 13-year-olds. And, NASA turned up and asked us to make a show on them. And the actual 53 companies we put on the show have raised more than $500 million since the show went live. So it was positivity begets positivity. There's no contention. Yeah. We don't focus on any negative stuff, right? It's just about how did you do it? Very inspiring. What did you do? How did you make it happen? Obviously, people talk about pitfalls, but that's not what our focus is. Our focus is on the entrepreneur and the entrepreneurialism and the innovation. And hence was born Tech Talk Media and Impossible Media. And we cover AI, sustainability, robotics, female entrepreneurship, many different emerging areas of entrepreneurialism and innovation that are taking the world by storm. And sorry to ramble on so long.
No, this is great. It's great stuff.
And Tech Talk on season 1 was like flying taxis, robots that look after the elderly, drones that fly into burning buildings to warn the fireflies, 3D holographic surgery. I mean, who the heck doesn't want to see that stuff? Why wasn't it on TV already? Why did it take me, an entrepreneur, to come and make TV, business television? So we became sort of the Forbes or Entrepreneur magazine of TV. We became the business TV. Our shows go out to 195 countries today. They're groundbreaking. They show you new areas, new entrepreneurs, new innovation. They put them on the map and they inspire and motivate other people to do that, right? It's that old Chinese proverb, rather than give a person a fish to eat for a day, teach him to fish and he can eat for a lifetime, right? That's the key. Let's share information. And so in, very long-winded answer, that's what Tech Talk Media is.
Great, and can feel the passion coming through, and what phenomenal success! And as you say, who wouldn't want to see flying taxis and the drones going in and saving people into burning business buildings? So yeah, absolutely phenomenal. How do you make money? How does a business model work?
So traditionally in the TV world, you come up with an idea, a pilot, a treatment, whatever it is, a Bible. You go to a network or a streamer or a partner, and they will usually fund it. They will give you a development package. You would have to start creating it. You get green lit, as the term goes. Green lighting. It's like they give you a green light, effectively. The networks, right? So green lit, and they'll give you, I don't know, 50, 100 grand. You develop the show, and then you've got to hit milestones, just as you would with a venture capitalist kind of thing, and then they'll give you more money. When we first went to the networks, they said to us, these, flying cars, fantastic, but do these guys fight? Is there drama? Well, hold on a minute. Do you hear about the 3D holographic surgery as well? And all these amazing things. And they thought, yeah, we heard about that. But, is there some drama and some negativity? And they really didn't get the concept of this is just so amazing. The inspirational nature of it is far better and more powerful than some negative situation that these guys might have. And although that might create you a little bit of a rating hike briefly, that's not really making impact in the world. It's not really sparking lots of other great things. So we realized we had to change the model. And for us, we had to independently finance and produce the shows because we understood the markets. TV networks didn't even understand all these markets. Remember, we were 2-3 years ahead all the time, right? So they don't understand what's going on. And they're certainly not going to put their money into what they don't understand. And then if it doesn't fit into the bucket they've got already, getting into extremely difficult situations. So it was very, very difficult. We had to bootstrap, had to put in my own money, had to bring friends and family and, people around us and make it happen. And to be honest with you, we did it in a very lean model. Really, when we talk to other people in the entertainment space, they're shocked at the budgets we've been able to produce the shows for, and then the high production value of those shows. Cannot see a difference between ridiculous budget shows, right? So we've received a lot of praise for that, and we're proud of that. I think it's the right way to go, as any entrepreneur would think. So we independently finance the shows, and then we own all of the IP. Today we have 18 titles. We own all of the brands and IP titles. There's no network who owns anything. And we have distribution deals with many larger networks, for instance, Discovery and Amazon and Apple and Virgin Media and, people like that. So we're about 60% saturated in the market right now. And our job is to get us saturated fully, right? There really isn't anything else like what we do. We've got films and TV series and all kind of spin-off shows that are coming from these because we realized that just documentary series or feature documentaries are great, but they don't saturate certain people. Certain people don't watch those, and also the money between the revenues between those different verticals are very different. So in short order, we license the content. There are many different types of deals. It might be an advertising split or a revenue split or a straight out licensing fee or an exclusive licensing fee. And we sell to, like I said, almost 200 regions around the world. And our sales team, that's their job, is to negotiate in different regions, whether they want language packs or different formats of the show. And we sell it all around the world. And our idea is to really fuel the market with this information. We became market makers. The guests and the startups on the show make billions and billions of dollars from the exposure and the connectivity, and other people get inspired. So it's priceless, really.
Brilliant. So how did you build the expertise to be able to build this business from the start? As you said, you went around and you were kind of turned down, or at least they didn't get it. How did you get the expertise then to really understand how the market worked and for you to be able to do it in a high quality way that you have?
Love that question. Where does anyone get the expertise to do anything? We were tuned that we were programmed to think that university really gives you the keys to go out there and make a life for yourself. I don't know what you studied, but I studied architecture. I certainly haven't used that in any shape or form. And, most of the people I know who have learned, unless they are, in accounting or lawyers, whether it's a specific or, medicine, where it's a specific path that you have to follow to get there. I find that life's lessons come from being in the street, right? From actually doing things. And truth be told, when we first filmed Tech Talk, I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I've been on television. I've been on BBC and stage since I was a kid, right, in the UK. And so I've been in front of the camera. I've been a model. I've seen how it works. I had no idea as a producer how to create the show. Most of our shows started off as unscripted. So that means even I would not walk in with a bunch of questions ready because I don't know how the people are and how the conversation is going to go. And we let it free flow. And through that free flow, much like you're doing today, really comes the passion and the beauty when you script things and you put it too much in a box. And it was a learning curve. We learned very quickly. I hired a fantastic team, of course, and I learned a lot from the team on the ground. But a lot of it was just working out what the heck we're doing as we were doing it. And I found throughout my career, much like Leonardo DiCaprio in that Catch Me If You Can movie, I really learned things from getting out there and having the boldness and the confidence to do them and to achieve them and to let nothing stop me. But I didn't necessarily have the scripted degree or the information that I needed to start off with. But where there is a will, there is a way. Where there's passion and determination, resilience, you can do anything. So truth is, we learned it as we went.
And you clearly were able to attract some really experienced and high quality people to you fairly early on in that journey. So what was it that they bought into, do you think, at that point? Because presumably, you didn't have hugely deep pockets to be able to pay, phenomenal wage rates or whatever.
Almost everybody who was part of the team had a love for what we were doing, had a prophecy for how powerful this will be to change the world. They realized that we started filming The Rise of AI 2-3 years ago, right? I didn't have a clue that the whole world would have gone hyperbolic for AI on the month that we launched it. No idea. And that just happened to be great timing in a sense. But we have to be ahead of the curve to understand that. And everybody who's been part of the team, I say almost everyone really, I can't think of anyone who wasn't, but almost everyone has bought into the actual concept of what Tech Talk Media is there to do, is to change the world through elevating amazing people and amazing innovations and positivity. I can't stress enough how much we focus on impact and positivity. I don't know if you can hear that in my voice, but that's the way I'm programmed. Yeah. And I'm looking to bring, much like you said, the best out of the people when I talk to them, right? That's really what you want to learn. I mean, there are so many other people who focus on negativity. I don't have a niche there. So we focus on positivity. I find that game changing, and that causes a snowball effect for the people who watch it, the people who view it, the people who work for the company, us who make it. Everybody who is attached to it. Positivity really just begets more positivity. It's very hard to find a negative situation that comes out of that.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, so I'd really love to explore going back to, because you're clearly a serial entrepreneur, right from the age of 14, as you were saying, you've really, really been entrepreneurial. So, and I think you say that your first big business, if you like, I believe that was in the helping people to get online and side of things. Was it from that aspect? And did you sell that to 123 Reg? Did I hear?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Good research. So one of my first real businesses, as I came out of university, I was an interior architecture. Right, I was a creative, but with maths and science strength. Yeah, and I came out, and the internet was really spiraling, right? People were using the internet. It was really the just after the .com boom, but the internet was very in everybody's home. AOL, that kind of thing. 54K modems.
Yeah.
And I realized that I needed to do something in that space. And when I'd used computer-aided design and technology, I was like, wow, you can create and design perfectly. I don't have to use the rulers and stuff. I could just use these guides, and it's even better. So I started to use Flash, right? I don't know if you remember that program.
Yes, I do.
And Flash was really easy to use, and it was fun. We made cartoons and animations, and then we made some websites. And then we started to make websites in HTML and so on. We said, well, we could do this on a bigger scale. And people really weren't doing this at the time. And companies didn't know how to get themselves an online presence. They really didn't know the difference. So we were one of those game-changing companies that actually went out on mass scale, right? We didn't do this by like you said, dozens. We did this by the thousands. And we took thousands of UK businesses online and helped them to transition from going from an offline business to a online and offline business, and where that was giving them e-commerce or stores or websites or sales tools or so on. We gave them the keys to do that, and that gave us the keys to know how to do that for ourselves going forwards. But it was a very exciting time, because there were, like I said, I've been on the cusp of new technologies all my life. I think I'm in that generation where I grew up, and it hasn't really stopped. Every 5 years, things are drastically changing. So the internet was one of those, and we really helped people to do that. And we did that for many years until we sold out to 123 Reg, who was just swallowing up anyone smaller than them to become a conglomerate in doing that.
So what did you learn from that process of going through an exit?
That business is incredibly hard. Not 1 minute of that business, even though it sounds glorious in the way I describe it to you, it wasn't difficult. I mean, it was everything that it didn't say it was. You know, no one tells you that 90% of businesses fail in the first 3 years. Yeah. 90% of businesses fail in the first. Who would ever bother to try if you knew that statistic? You'd be like, well, I'm not doing that. It's a waste of time. But the fact is, you get there and there are so many unknown factors that you can't even plan for, you're just not equipped for, that you just have to constantly put out fires and adapt. And I wasn't as astute as I am now, right? That I've learned that stuff. And if you see me on Dragon's Den, I was a scared little kid, you know, trying to answer questions, and they were asking me things that they wanted to pull drama out of it, and I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't know how to handle that situation. You know, I see myself on camera there, and that was a long while after that company, right? But I see myself on camera and say, wow, I don't have any of the skills I have today to be able to handle myself. So it's just really being a kid in business and building that. Incredibly fun with my friends, exciting time. We did great stuff, but boy, was it hard. But that didn't stop me from doing it again and again and again. There's something in the challenge which makes it exciting. And as I always say to other people, that the most exciting time of a business is when you're going through the challenging times. When you make it, you might say, yeah, it's great. I've got the money. I can buy things. I feel great. But you lose all of the juice, all of the fun, all of the sexiness happens when it's drastic and it's mysterious and challenging and all those things. That's the fun time. And people might say that I have kids, you know, kids get older, they're beautiful when they're adults, but boy, do I miss them when they were fun and buzzy and, you know, and doing all this crazy stuff. And that time as you're building is a consequential time in our lives that teaches us skills. If you never challenge yourself, dementia takes on very quickly and you know, and it just ends up a bad situation for everyone. Challenge is part of our human nature. So challenging, that's my one word I would say for the time.
Yeah. All right. So what was one of the biggest challenges that you faced with that business?
I think it's ever changing circumstances. So market changes. For instance, we were using Flash for a good amount of time in that business, and then Flash became something that you could hack easily, became unstable. You'd have to have their plugin to be able to watch it and use the site. So, you know, who wants to install a plugin if you're just going to a website? There was the adaptation of technology. There were these unknown pitfalls that as a amateur entrepreneur, that I didn't do things better, whether that was sales or marketing or financing or, you know, that's the part of a fledgling business. But like I said, there were golden keys in there, and through small failures, I was able to pick myself up or work out, or even, you know, failing again and again and then working it out. But through that path gave me the skills to bring it to a success where we exited, and found ourselves in a much more fortunate position.
And how big was the team for that business when you exited?
About 12 people.
12 people. So what did you learn as a relatively young man at that point then? I'm guessing that was your first real experience of building a team of people around you. What did you learn about what essentially is a tech business, but with people at the heart of it?
At the time when I built that business, it wasn't common to be a young boss. It was emerging, but it wasn't common. So they were used to seeing a grey-haired boss, somebody that, you know, if you challenge them, you wouldn't normally challenge them anyway. But I found myself in a situation where I was a very young guy and I had a very young team around me. Some of those team were older than me. So the struggle between being the right level of boss and being friendly to them and getting them to listen and respect me and you know, find responsibility, very, very difficult at the time. I would say now the environment has changed and it's quite normal for you to be a young entrepreneur and you can be respected. But so gaining respect from my peers and clients was difficult at the time. And as I was on a learning curve, the whole thing was difficult. But I look back at it as a joyous time. We changed the world slightly, right? All those businesses we put online, we might have changed their destiny. Some of those companies only do business online today.
Yeah.
If we'd never taken them online, they might have been 5-10 years behind that curve doing that. So, for me, the most important thing is, I think money comes and goes. I think that's even for the billionaires, millionaires, royalty. If you're smart enough, you'll keep it for the rest of your life once you earn it. But the money doesn't go to the grave with you. And what does is the impact that you've made on the world, the legacy. And for me, every single business has been one where, sure, there's a capitalistic agenda. We want to make money. We want to, churn revenue. We want to be a successful business. But why can't we do that and do something positive at the same time?
Yeah.
And that's really what we found to do. And so what my lesson is that you can also empower yourself and empower people around you. And how do you do that? And you should ignore all of the white noise, right? If there's people saying you're too young, it's irrelevant. If you feel and you have a desire, and as I said, passion and resilience, you can do anything. It doesn't matter what other people say. It doesn't matter what skills you have. It doesn't matter what you've been taught. It doesn't matter your resources. Where there is a will, there is a way. That is such a powerful statement that really, anybody can do anything in this world if they have enough desire. So my takeaway is believe in yourself. Yeah. Don't give in to the challenges around and the pressures, and keep going on your goal. Keep pushing forwards, and you will get there, no doubt.
Brilliant. No, sound advice. And what surprised you about that exit process, that the acquisition with 123 Dredge? What surprised you about that?
Do you know what surprised me the most is that I made another business straight after it.
Okay.
Normal people will say to you, 6, 7, 8 years building a business, take a break, go on holiday, travel the world, do something, enjoy yourself. And I immediately started another business, which surpassed the size of my other business within 6 months. And through the knowledge I gained, that was really the point I was making, right? Is that I didn't have the knowledge, I didn't have the experience. But once I challenged myself and I put the hard graft in, right? You got to put hard graft in, nothing comes easy. Once I put the hard graft in, I had grown myself the skills. I'd adopted the skills, and I was able to put those into my next business, where I raised strong money. Michael Spencer was one of the investors in that company. He's a 30% shareholder of the London Stock Exchange, right? He's a pretty influential guy in the UK. And, he invested in the company. We ended up being in on the business papers and so on because of it. And it was very exciting. And I would say that, that's what I was so surprised that I had the propensity to make another business after, going through hardship, up and down, and struggles and challenges, and finally getting to a good point. But it wasn't without that hardship. So to throw yourself back into the deep end, you swum the channel, you've been 40 years swimming the channel, you come back on shore. What are you going to do? Get back in the water and swim again? No, sunbathe for a bit, but I jumped back in.
So how did that come about? That business.
So as I said, I was at the inception of the internet, and I found it fascinating. And I saw these casinos come out, and I was like, wow, these guys made a software app. They've got no croupiers, no staff, no games, no cocktail waitresses, and they're taking in, ridiculous amounts of money off people in an unfair manner. Don't get me wrong, but I was just amazed by what they're doing. I said, well, this is incredible, but I would never want to have a casino because it's innately unfair to the people. So I actually invented what's called skill gaming. Okay. Skill gaming is backgammon, chess, Monopoly, Scrabble, Rummy Cub, all those games that you can play in tournaments, just like you would golf. You go into a golf tournament, pay $100 entry, win a few thousand. Same thing. You can play backgammon and put $10 in and win a few thousand in a laddered tournament. But the concept wasn't even apparent at the time. And what we actually uncovered was that if the element of skill is higher than the element of chance, then it's not considered gambling.
Yeah.
So you could actually play in these games in tournament and be protected from any gambling laws or anything like that, which is quite unique. So we very quickly raised, as I said, £4.8 million from some very influential people, and we built this games platform. And Orange Telecom and FHM and GQ and the Mirror newspaper and so on all had /games. You go to the mirror.co.uk/games. That was our portal that was white labeled. It said the Mirror Games.
Yeah.
And you would go play those games. But within those games, you'd be on the same network as all the other games sites. You'd be playing the same pool of players, but branded under their sites. And we were sharing a revenue from them. That was the company that, unfortunately, my partner was more interested in lining his pockets than achieving the agenda. And my only pitfall was not looking internally for things like that. And that's what Dragons Den wanted to focus on, right? It was an incredibly successful business, more so than anything I've ever done in my life. It soared in popularity and deals that we were signing. But it was another lesson for me to learn along the way.
So what?
We had contracts, we had, everything was, but he still went and did things that it was very hard for me to get justice afterwards. I went through all the correct means and so on, and he just found a way to avoid that. So it was a very, very eye-opening scenario. And I bet you're going to ask me what I learned from it, right? So I'm going to tell you, I was a kid and I wanted to make businesses with my friends, right? I wanted to have partners. Let's do this together. Let's be a family. That's a fable. You don't need to do that, right? Like I said, where there's a will, there's a way. You don't actually, it's great if you can find the right partners and they have good skill sets to bring to the table and value, and you do something together and they're honorable people, fantastic. But I would say partners are one of the hardest things I've ever found in business. And therefore my success, I've realized since that company, is to always be the master of my own destiny and majority shareholder of my company, and to retain control and ownership. But that doesn't come without hard graft and hard effort. I often have to work 3 times as hard as everybody else. But that assures me that I remain in the controlling position. And therefore, when I build something, it's not that somebody else can be my downfall. It's that only I can be my success or my downfall myself, and not to leave that in someone else's hands. And that was the biggest thing for me. And I've never sold out to VC firms and so on for that reason, is because I don't want to lose control over these wonderful things that we've been building. It's probably my worst nightmare today, is to build beautiful seeds into plants, and then somebody else cut those down or take them without my wanting them to.
Yes, you've just described what a lot of us feel with building our baby. It becomes our baby in a way, doesn't it? So what I'm curious, what happened to that business?
They did a very smart maneuver. It was to bankrupt the company to buy the distressed assets for a totally unvalued amount. And then they had a deal already to resell those assets to one of our competitors. Right. So the company was sold to one of our main competitors under what we call a distressed assets deal. But it was I would just call it a hustle.
Yeah. So really trying time for you, really. I imagine that was a very, very difficult time.
Unbelievable emotionally. Unbelievable. And you know what, Kevin? 6 months later, somehow, I opened a drawer on my desk and I pulled out a scrunched up piece of paper, and I saw this piece of hardware that I'd drawn sometime, I just imagined it. And that was my next business. 6 months later, I picked myself up, built my next business. I had got myself, I built a hardware product. It was a poker joystick. So for all those 300 million people playing poker online, they're playing with the mouse. And I used to play also, right? And the mouse would be very erroneous. You'd have, the timer's going down, and you'd be like, all right, I'll settle for 20 instead of 30 pounds. Or, but what do you mean? I'm going to settle for a 10 pound difference because I can't get to the scale. So we developed the wireless poker controller, which had all of the bets and the settings for all of the sites programmed into it. And that was for selling Argos and Target and all these kind of companies around the world. And that was very quickly, it was on the front cover of every poker magazine and gaming publication. It became extremely popular. All of the celebrities in poker used it. And I had a very successful business, and that's the business that I went on Dragon's Den with. And
right,
they tell you that they don't know anything about you. But when I was there, I had one of the most fantastic hours of interview ever. You know, Deborah Meaden said to me, "Jonny, you're one of the best businessmen I've ever seen on this show. Really, I'm so inspired." And Duncan Ballantyne played with it, and there's Theo and Peter, and they were all very extremely complimentary. And then they said to me, "Well, tell us about your last business." And I started to try to tell the story as I told you, but every time I tried to explain what we'd done, I'm talking about within 10, 20 seconds, try to explain what we'd done successfully, they kept saying, "Well, how much money was raised? Okay, well, what happened to that money?" And they were really pushing to get to the final point. And I got frustrated, and I answered it in a frustrated manner. And then the narrator, when my 3 minutes came up, he says, "And the higher the money you request, the greater the scrutiny you receive. That's why entrepreneur Jonny Caplan, received some pushback," or whatever. So they show this 1.5 minutes of, fabulous playing with it, pitching, sound great. And then the 1.5 minutes of pushing my buttons, right, to make TV. And I thought, well, I wasted a year of my life and the business focusing on that TV show, thinking that it would be of benefit to my company. I didn't get there for my own personal promotion, right? I was just trying to get the business exposure. And unfortunately, they focused on that. But I was undeterred, and we still, that was a successful business that we exited several years later. So I somehow picked myself up from that tragedy. And I don't know if everybody would do that, but that is the secret sauce when you fail is, pick yourself back up and try again. That's
that resilience.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So what kind of exit was that one then? Was that a trade sale, or what sort of exit was that?
A private sale to a Portuguese gaming company.
Okay, great. And I'm interested in really because a number of our listeners will be building their businesses potentially with the view maybe to have an exit, and many of us will only have one exit if we're lucky in our lifetime. So what have you picked up from the couple of exits then there were 2 or 3 exits actually that you've had that might be useful to somebody listening that's not been through that process before?
So everything in business is what you make of it, right? So if you want investment, you have to build the dream. You have to sell the dream. You have to find the other people to come and believe in your dream. That comes from you. It's not, I made a business and the investors came along. And the same thing goes for the exit, right? You have to manifest it. You have to say, this is what my agenda is. This is what my target. This is the time frame I'm going to target to do that. This is the milestones I'm going to have to make to get that. This is the sort of exit I'm looking to get. These are the sorts of people that I want to help me exit, right? The partners or investors or whatever it is. It's manifestation. It comes from the entrepreneur themselves. So everything in the world is manifestation by human beings. So that's why AI is not really scary, because, we haven't worked out as humans how to do it properly. We can resonate things which create energy in the world that other people attach to. So that's what the resilience, the passion, the determination. Why is it not just resilience? Because passion and determination cause you to convince and enlighten and bring in other people. So that all comes from the entrepreneur themselves. If you want to exit, believe in it. That's the start. Secondly, work hard to achieve it. Thirdly, put the things in place, whether it's marketing or advertising or sales or just getting out to events, whatever it's going to take, or all of them. But, and again, it comes with that resilience, because you can't just be passionate and determined. Things are going to knock you down.
Yeah. And
you have to come back and get back up and do them. And that it's not just about when you fail, but it's also when you want to achieve things, sales or an exit. That really comes from the manifestation. Right now in Tech Talk Media, we just opened up a small investment round for a strategic partner, right?
Okay.
We got to the point where we've generated all of the IP in our shows, right? We own them. We've got 6 finished shows. We've got 12 shows in production. We've got 18 titles that we own. We've got the strength of our exposure, our distribution deals, 25 awards, revenues, all this kind of stuff. But the friends and family and the bootstrapping that we did in the first place are still kind of there as they're in America, they're called convertible notes. They came in as they kind of gave money into the company. They're getting some interest back, but they don't really own equity at this moment in time. So they're not strategic investors. Those are people who helped because they believed in the concept and they believed in us and so on. And they were us as well. And all those people need to be made good right now. They need to be taken out. They need to be given a little bit of, interest back. So they've earned their money. They feel good about it. They helped it. Everybody succeeded. And we need to bring in at this moment strategic investors. When I first went to my partners and said, this is what I believe we should be doing at this point, they said, we can't do that. They didn't believe in it. And I sat in a couple of board meetings and I explained to them until they fully understood the picture. Not always does everybody able to absorb the picture of the entrepreneur or the innovator, right? And I had to sell it to them, right? And once they realized this is a powerful opportunity for us, that now we have several major media studios looking at that investment in our company,
right.
that step up will not, the money thing is irrelevant. It doesn't change huge amount money-wise for us, right? It's really a technical situation. But what it does for us gives us the opportunity to change those partners for friends and family to, let's say, a media partner who's going to come in and want to help us to get to the next level. So, what I'm saying is I'm still doing it now, right? I'm 25, 30 years later in my career, and I'm still doing the basic premise of what I'm telling you and what I've done previously. And I'm at this stage where I've invested a huge amount of time and energy and money into this business, and we've reached certain successes, but I still need to go back to basics and manifest and bring in people and inspire them and convince them, just the way I said. So I'm still doing it right now. And that's really what it is. It all comes from what resonates from the entrepreneur yourself. If you go out and sing from the hills every single day, whatever the heck that you're passionate about, other people will start bonding to that and they want to join it and become part of it. It's just kind of the way that the energy works as well. So make it happen.
Brilliant. I think I know the answer you're going to give to this one, but what is it you love most about what you're doing?
I love the fact that I think that as humans, we have the ability to create. I think even animals have the ability to create, right? If you see these time lapses of a bird creating their nest, think how smart these birds are, that they're able to weave a nest through bits of crap that they pick up. Mm-hmm. And ability is all animals on the earth to create. I think humans are the most superior, right? And our ability to create is so wondrous, right? You can do it in a sentence. You can do it with food. You could do it by singing. You could do it with a picture. I mean, there's so many different verticals you can do that. What I love about entrepreneurship is the ability to create. And what I found so powerful, I think, look at the development of the human race over the last few decades. It's immense. It's immense. We're flying to the moon. It's immense. Yeah. Right. And the next development's going to be like, I don't even want to think about it. It's kind of scary in a way as well. So really the ability to innovate and create and to control that is so powerful, so exciting. I feel like a wizard, a conjurer, and to be able to go in and say, well, I see an empty space in that market, or I see this, and then I can actually fill that. And then years later, seeing myself in that spot, saying, blink it, how did I even get there? It's through that manifestation, that dreaming, that vision, right? The prophecy. So I don't know if that was the answer you thought I was going to say, but I love innovating. I love creating. It's not always easy. I think that's the beauty of it. If it was easy, who'd appreciate what you do at the end? But the making, the innovating, the creating, and then getting to inflection points, which are hard, and having to work out how to get over those. But if you eventually get over them, can you imagine what that? So that feeling, that journey, the innovation is I think I'll be a serial entrepreneur until I can't move any longer or think.
Yeah, and I think I was expecting some of that, and I thought also because I think that creativity, that passion, that making that impact on a lot of people is also where you come from. And I guess my next question, you mentioned the word legacy a couple of times. What is the legacy that you want to leave? What does Jonny Caplan want to leave on the world?
It's a great question. I wouldn't have known the answer to that 5 years ago. And what if I told you that Tech Talk Media wasn't really my idea? It was my top business partners. And at the time I made Tech Talk Media, I'd been through all these businesses, had my successes, and I had tons of people coming to me in the background saying, Jonny, can you help me? Can you help me? Can you help me? And I would sit on the board, I would advise them, be a consultant, some situation, different kind of relationships. But it was like the secret millionaire behind the scenes without the millions and, without the notoriety. And he said to me, look, Jonny, you're doing this all wrong. And I was like, well, thanks, appreciate it. And he said, well, I've sent you a 40-page business plan. Read it. And you'll see how we're going to change the world.
Right.
And when I first read it, I was like, well, I don't want to make TV shows. And when I actually understood the concept, it really wasn't about the TV shows. The TV shows were a means to an end. We're just using a popular vertical to get information out to people. And we're putting that information out in a sexy, engaging, enlightening, inspiring way.
Yeah.
But we're using traditional formats. So what I realized my legacy would be, and I made a mistake because the first show I was one of the hosts along with Steven Spielberg's niece, Jessie Katz, right? So, I thought it was me being the show, being entrepreneurial and advising. That wasn't what it was. It's in background is that I understand entrepreneurialism. I understand new markets. And many people don't really understand new markets. It's hard for them to grasp. So what we've been putting together are these productions which inform the masses across the world about new markets and new innovation, new people. And that is creating so much impact around the world. It's daily we receive communication that the impact that it's making around the world, just the same information broadcasting for people who haven't seen this stuff. Mm. So truth be told is my legacy are these timeless productions that are future-proofed. They're still way future-proofed because they're talking about the future of technology and innovation still. Are those shows that I feel in the style of David Attenborough, that we do the documentary of technology and innovation. Is like when we've seen David Attenborough growing up, we saw him, telling us about amazing nature and things that are happening in the world that we didn't understand. And I feel that path upon us of being educational, informative, connecting, enlightening, inspirational, all these things that TV really doesn't fit that bill as much as it used to in the 80s and 90s. And I miss that. And I believe that's detrimental to the world. So our mission, our legacy, my legacy is to create as much powerful, positive, inspirational, impactful television through really just elevating other people and amazing people around the world. And we do that through the power of TV, through the reach of TV, through the engagement of television. And that's really the legacy. The legacy is showcasing the power of amazing human creativity and really letting that positivity replicate itself and snowball to create huge positivity and impact around the world. That's what the legacy is. It's not me, it's not my journey, but it's these shows that will live forever. And everybody who watches them will be inspired and enlightened and really pushed onto a path of, I can be entrepreneurial. What if that guy's doing it? And I can do it.
Well said indeed. Brilliant. So where do you want to be in 5 years' time then? What does the next 5 years look like? What would success look like?
We're still very small, right? Even though we have a niche in what we do and we're the dominant provider for what we do. If you compare us to a Sony Pictures or a Warner or a Universal Studios or an MGM or a Lionsgate, I mean, the list goes on. We are a microcosm. And truly to have strong impact around the world, we need to have more strength in that in the marketplace. So as I said, we're branching out into movies and TV series and lots of other very powerful media. And we're doing the same concept. We're just transferring it into different types of formats. We have a competition show called Tech Heroes, which is about sustainability entrepreneurs, much like America's Got Talent or Britain's Got Talent. We can win a contract, money on the show, and everybody gets involved. So we're trying to really instigate action. So I would say in 5 years' time, I would like to see this company at a very different cap size that it is right now, based on having much more reach, more productions, bigger budgets, so that we can achieve those things much easier. Right now, it's always difficult, it's okay, things to be difficult, but many other media companies create things without any difficulty. And a lot of their content that they're creating is not really it's doing detriment to the world. It's not really doing any benefit. So I'd like to see us in a much stronger position with stronger partners, right? Really doing much of the same, but on a much, much wider, bigger level, more exponential growth.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Well, you've certainly inspired me. I've loved hearing all about your journey and your passion for what you do. Are you all right for a couple of quick fire questions before we close?
Yeah, of course. And if I've inspired you or one other person, that makes everything worth it. So really, that's what it's about. And if you can go and inspire someone else from it, right, then it's all happening.
Yeah, brilliant. So you've already given an answer to this, I think. If you could go back to your younger self, what advice would you give yourself? Would that be to believe in yourself? That's what you said earlier.
Yeah, and to have more confidence. I was incredibly confident anyway. But there was plenty of people who weren't, because they don't see the future. They don't see what's happening. So that's why I said ignore the white noise, because there's always a lot of noise. And, often people tell you that you can't do it.
Yeah.
I met an amazing person many years ago. And he said I said to him, how do we fix the world? And he said to me, there's 3 things that we need that will totally fix everything in the world. He said it's encouragement.
Yeah.
And that's what I would have encouraged myself more as myself, not as the other people, because we need to encourage each other more. Even if you get up and you fail, because I'm not telling you don't jump off a building, right? Don't encourage someone to jump off a building. But generally, if we encourage each other more, there'd be so much more success in the world. And that's what's lacking in families, with parents, in schools, in universities, is encouragement. So I'd go back and I'd smack myself across the head and say, you could do it, man. Don't believe the yes that you hear.
Very good. All right. So maybe this would be one of your films. I normally ask people what books or podcasts would they recommend, but maybe it's one of your films. What would inspire you? What would you think that somebody listening to this show should listen to or watch if they haven't already done so?
I think there are many, many inspirational speakers out there in terms of business. There's a lot of people that you can get good things from. I really maintain what I said earlier, is that you can't learn any of this in books. You can't learn any of it on podcasts. You can't learn it. Podcasts are great. Get in the spirit, hear other people. Unless you get out there and do it, you will learn nothing.
Yeah.
So, I talk at universities and I tell them the same thing. I say, universities are great, but they're also rubbish at the same time. And then the person who invited me to speak would look at me and say, well,
you invited him.
You can say that. And I say, well, because the power of learning is in the power of doing. You have to go out and do it. So I haven't really been inspired by other entrepreneurs or leaders, if I'm honest with you. I just believed in doing stuff and I went out and I did it. And, it's great to be immersed. As I went on, I wanted to be immersed in it. So I listened to other things, but really what was driving me was my own spirit. And that's what people have to find. So if you get inspired by somebody else to get that spirit, that's great, then do that. But the truth is, for myself personally, I need to just believe in an idea and go make it happen and fight tooth and nail to make that happen no matter what. And that's the only way that I will believe in it. But everybody's wired differently. And if you need to, be inspired by somebody else, that's great. I try to inspire other people. So I get it. But me personally, Winston Churchill is a massive inspiration to me, right? Success consists of going from failure to failure without loss of enthusiasm.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Winston Churchill was somebody who had so much resilience that he was winning. And, if you want to learn stuff, he unfortunately doesn't have any podcasts. I'm not sure if he has any books. I'm sure others have written on him. Winston Churchill's a big inspiration to me, if you ask me someone. Yeah,
and there's lots of great Winston Churchill quotes, aren't there? I quite like the one about if you're going through hell, keep going.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Good. Well, excellent. On that note, it's been absolutely fascinating, Jonny. Thank you very much for being my guest today. If people would like to get hold of you or find out more about Tech Talk Media, what's the best way for them to do that?
So Tech Talk Media, you can go to techtalkmedia.tv. If you want to get hold of me, you can go to my Instagram, to my LinkedIn, to my Twitter, which is all Jonny Caplan, one word. I pretty much reply to most people if it's not spam. And if it's not selling me something, I do reply to most people, as I hope that other people would in the world. So I'm happy to connect with anyone that wants to connect.
Brilliant. We'll put that in the show notes. Jonny, thank you very much for being my guest today.
Thanks so much, Kevin. Keep doing what you do. It's a great channel. Thanks so much.
I hope you enjoyed that discussion, and if you're building and scaling your own business, you might well be interested in our book, The Entrepreneurial ScaleUp System. And it's exactly what it says on the tin. It's a practical handbook around scaling a business in a structured way, and you can order a copy on all your favorite online retailers, including an audio version, or you can find it and other supporting resources on our website, www.esusgroup.co.uk. That's esusgroup.co.uk, which is esusgroup.co.uk.
This has been a Monkey Pants Productions podcast.